Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys send in some really interesting stuff on Entity SEO this time around, and I've got to say, this one gets pretty complex, but that's what we're here for, right? To break it all down and figure out what you actually need to know. Now, you're all savvy about SEO, but Entity SEO, that's like next level. Think of it this way. Google's always getting smarter. Yeah, Entity SEO is how we make sure our websites can keep up. It's about making sure Google doesn't just see our website, but actually understands it.
Exactly. It's like we're teaching Google to see our website the way our ideal customer would, recognizing those important connections and nuances that make a site stand out.
Okay, I like where this is going. So first things first, what exactly is named entity recognition? I've seen that tossed around a lot. NER for sure, right?
You got it. Basically, NER is how search engines identify and categorize the entities on your site. We're talking about the people, the places, organizations, products, anything with a distinct identity.
So it's not just picking up keywords, but actually understanding what those words represent.
Exactly. It's about context. Let's say you're a dentist, right? Dr. John Smith in Los Angeles. With NER, Google doesn't just see those as random words. It understands that Dr. John Smith is the entity, dentist is the profession, and Los Angeles is the location.
It's like Google's building a little profile in its system.
Right.
So instead of just showing up for any search with those words, Google can actually connect the dots and say, hey, this is Dr. John Smith. He's a dentist in Los Angeles. This is probably the website the user wants.
Exactly. And it goes even further with what we call disambiguation.
Disambiguation.
Yeah, you know how there are probably a million John Smiths out there? Disambiguation is how Google tells them apart. It makes sure your website pops up for searches that are actually relevant to you.
Makes sense. No point in getting lost in a sea of irrelevant search results.
Yeah,
It's like throwing a party and nobody shows up because they went to the wrong place.
exactly. And that's where the knowledge graph comes in, but we'll get to that in a bit. The big takeaway here is that Entity SEO is about optimizing our entire online presence, not just individual pages.
So it's a pretty big shift from how we used to think about SEO then. So we're thinking about our whole online presence now.
That's right. We want to build authority, not just for our brand, but our services, location, everything that makes us unique.
It's not just about a single page anymore, is it?
Nope, it's bigger. It's about the whole picture, how it all connects, on our site, and beyond.
Okay, so where does this knowledge graph thing fit in? I keep hearing about that.
That's how Google connects the dots. Think of it like Google's giant knowledge base, right? They're constantly mapping out all the relationships between, well, everything online.
So it's like this massive web of how everything is connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now I see how entities play into all of this.
When you define your entities clearly, it's like you're giving Google a map to your little corner of that graph.
It's like, here's how I fit into all of this.
Yeah, you're making it easy for them to understand you.
Which means Google can rank you better for the right searches.
Exactly. It's not enough to just tell Google what you do anymore. You have to show them how you fit in.
You have to show them you're the real deal.
Yeah.
So how do we actually do that? What are the practical steps? I know our listener mentioned backlinking, co-citation, even structured data came up.
Okay, so those are all pieces of the puzzle, yeah. Take backlinking. It's not just about getting any link from any website. It's about getting links from sites that are relevant to your entities.
So if I'm a dentist, getting a link from WebMD is better than, say, a cooking blog.
Exactly. A link from a relevant site adds way more credibility.
That's like a referral from a colleague versus some random person on the street.
Exactly. Now, co-citation works in a similar way. It's about getting mentioned alongside other big names in your field.
So if people see your name next to other industry leaders,
Google starts to associate you with them. It reinforces your authority.
that makes sense.
Now, structured data, that's a bit more technical.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one.
It's about how you organize the information on your website.
We're talking like behind-the-scenes code stuff.
Yeah. But the main idea is to make it easy for Google to understand your content.
You're making Google's job easier.
Right. You give them a clear path, they can crawl your site and connect all the dots easily.
And that means better rankings, right?
Exactly. And speaking of making things easy, we should probably talk about Market Brew.
Oh, yeah. Our listener specifically asked about them and their whole approach to this entity SEO thing. Yeah, they're definitely making some waves. Everyone's talking about them.
They've got some really interesting stuff going on.
Like that whole spotlight thing, right? I was reading about it. It's
Yeah.
all about like looking at entities the way Google sees them, not just how we see them as humans.
Yeah, exactly. We humans, we can look at a website and just kind of get it. We understand the main ideas intuitively, you know?
We get the big picture.
Right. But search engines, not so much. They need a bit more help to understand what's really important.
Because they're not seeing the design, the colors, all of that.
Exactly. They see the raw data.
So that's where Spotlight comes in. It's like making it clear for Google to see what matters.
Yeah, you could put it that way. It's about highlighting those entities, making sure Google doesn't miss them.
And I saw they have those free visualizers too. So people can actually see this in action, right?
Yeah, those are really cool. They give you a good sense of how Market Brew analyzes things.
Definitely worth checking out. So for our listener who's really interested in Market Brew, what would you say sets them apart? What's their secret sauce?
That's a good question. I think it's that they understand that not all connections are created equal, you know?
I mean,
Well, lots of SEO tools can tell you two websites are linked, but Market Brew digs deeper.
they want to know more than just, is there a connection?
Right. They want to know why those sites are connected. What's the context? What's the intent?
It's like they're reading between the lines.
Exactly.
And that's where their Spotlight Focus tool comes in, right?
Exactly. That's the one. It's about understanding the nuances.
The nuances that other tools miss.
Right. And those nuances, they can make all the difference.
Because ultimately, Google just wants to show users the most relevant, most valuable results.
Exactly. Google wants to make sure you're the right fit.
So for our listeners who've been taking notes this whole time, what are the key takeaways? What can they start doing right now to improve their Entity SEO?
Well, first, you've got to make sure your website is clear about its main entities.
Be clear about what you do, basically.
Right. And use all the tools you have to make it easy for Google to understand those entities.
Structured data, schema markup, all of that.
Exactly. Second, focus on building really high-quality connections. Don't just get any link you can find. Think about quality over quantity, always.
Like we talked about, it's not just about who is linking to you.
Right. It's about why they're linking to you. What does that connection say about your website?
And last but not least,
Never stop learning. This is a field that's always changing.
So true. And we'll be here to help you navigate it all. Entity SEO is the future, folks. Start exploring it now and watch your website climb those rankings.